Hello, divine creation, divine marvels, children of God. Good morning to you, and thank you to everyone for joining in. So here we are. Let's take a moment and notice what's going on right here, right now. We're inhabiting these bodies, and these bodies are currently located on this beautiful, beautiful planet Earth. I'm looking out the window. And if we take a moment and look, when I take a moment and look at nature without any thoughts, really, in essence, take in nature, take in what I'm looking at, I instantly feel something very special. I invite all of you to go spend 5 minutes today and stand in front of a beautiful tree or bush and just look, but not just look, take in what's there. Because there's what's visible, but there's also something invisible in nature, a blessing, a grace, a peace. So here we are in these bodies on this earth. What shall we do with our time? Given that it's March 2020 and there's this very interesting world situation, all of us have, most people have quite a bit of extra time on their hands. So what to do with that time? Well, of course, there's many activities and many possibilities. And thanks to the internet, we can all day long be entertained. The question is that a good use of our time? Because that's the other thing. If we recognize, when I when I recognize that I'm in this body, and this body isn't going to be around forever, then time becomes very much more precious to me. And I ask myself, what do I want to do with my time? Another way to say it is, what's really important? So, according to Bruno Groening, a very, very humble yet wise beyond words, a man who was active in post World War II Germany, who said that what he was sharing was just simply the teachings of Jesus Christ. He pointed out that our time here on this earth is actually a gift. He languaged it like this, that we are allowed to be alive here on this earth. He actually said that there are trillions of souls lined up, waiting for the opportunity to be born on this earth, to be given a body. He was quite adamant that we aren't a body, we're given a body, that we're actually a soul, and that we have temporary use of this body, and that it's a precious gift from God. So let's just assume for the moment that those things that Bruno Groening taught were true. That we are a soul, that this body is a gift, that time is precious. Because even if you don't necessarily believe anything else I've said or think that this Bruno Groening guy is off his rocker, many people did when he was alive. No one can deny that time is precious and that our time here on this earth is precious. So what to do with it? Well, first and foremost, Bruno Groening pointed out a very simple fact of life that most people overlook, that for every aspect of life, we need energy to do anything. Most people think energy comes from the energy that they use, that we all use going through day-to-day activities, comes primarily from food and sleep and breathing. Bruno Groening pointed out, well, actually, you need energy to even take in a breath, much less digest food. So where does this energy come from? Well, Mr. Groening pointed out what many, many ancient cultures, some of them still existing today, pointed out that there is a life force, that there is um, a divine power that actually really sustains and nurtures life. And a very easy way to connect to that divine power is to connect with nature. So, again, I invite everyone here today to do a little experiment and go be in nature or stand in front of nature and really take in what you're looking at and see how you feel if after 5 minutes. He also pointed out another very simple way to take in this energy. He called it Einstellen. It's a German word. Has many meanings. To align oneself, to focus, to take in, to attune oneself. It also means to tune, like tuning a radio station. And he said through this practice, we can directly absorb life energy. Very similar to the way we absorb oxygen. We just take it in. So the practice for doing this is very simple. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back in an upright position, not stiff, but not slouched over, and if possible, not leaning against your chair. Then please close your eyes. And now very firmly separate yourself from everything not good, illness, anxiety, resentments, everything not good. Mentally separate yourself from them or hand them over to your own understanding of a higher power, whether that be God or life or a particular spiritual helper, such as Christ. For many people, Christ is the being, the person they look to. So again, separating yourself from the idea that you even have an illness. Now think about your healing. There's many ways to do that. One is to just see yourself healthy. One is to anticipate health and healing, or just to anticipate good things. Now, having done that, please ask. Ask to receive the life force, the healing force, the divine energy, and observe your body. Noticing what you feel, interpreting, viewing every sensation as a step towards your healing. Taking in the good, observing the body, every sensation a step towards healing, towards recovery. taking in the good. Now I invite people, hmm, hmm, I invite people to continue this practice. I'm going to talk and read a little bit. Hmm. I invite people to just continue tuning in, taking in divine healing energy. Hmm. So I'm going to read something from a woman named Greta Hausler who knew Bruno Groening quite well. And this is her understanding of what he taught. In essence, her understanding of what Christ's actual teachings are. The highest thing for a human being is to live connected to God, to be bonded, to experience his love and goodness and all embracing mercy, to obtain the awareness that you are allowed to be his child. To see oneself as such is wonderful. And to see as the last piece of the goal is to become one with God. This is the most valuable goal that the new person can strive for. So she starts off by saying the highest thing for a human being is to live connected to God. Another way to say it is that's the most important thing. Now, for most of us, well, I'll speak for myself, is, I've been very devoted to the spiritual path for a long time, but and I've it's not an easy goal to strive to be connected to God all through the day. And yet, Greta Hausler, sharing her understanding of Bruno's teaching, and Bruno, as did just like Christ, as did many, many mystics and sages and gurus, teachers and prophets throughout history, have all said in their own way that the experience of being connected to God, is the most important thing. Bruno Groening went so far as to say, to be connected to God, that is everything. Now, Bruno didn't speak English, he spoke German, so he never said be connected. He said be in Verbindung, which does mean connected, but it also means united, communion, union, linked, very intimate kind of closeness. So let's spend a little time and reflect. Is Bruno Groening right that having this sense of close connection to God, that is everything? Said another way, that's the most important thing. Observing the body, So I'm clear that Bruno Groening was right, as are all these other mystics, that it's truly the most important thing in life to be closely connected to God. Yet how to live that moment by moment? Well, Bruno Groening gave a very simple way to do that, and that's to observe our body as we go throughout the day. This practice that we're doing sitting here, Bruno Groening invited, encouraged, taught people to do it all day long. I personally haven't mastered it, but I'm striving for it. And a great way to start is to go out for walks and do it, or even just to spend a few minutes, like while washing the dishes, observing the body. So why is it so important to do this always? To strive anyway, to do this always. Well, the thing is Bruno Groening pointed out that moment by moment we are guided. The question is, what are we guided by? Having taken time to observe myself, what I've noticed, thanks to Bruno Groening's teachings, which highlighted this, that before every action, there's a thought. And the thing is most of us human beings don't take the time to check each thought. Yet, each thought has an effect. And if we say a big enough yes to a thought, it's actually going to move us to an action. So, through this practice of tuning in and staying connected to God, we're more mindful of our thoughts. And it's easier to detect which thoughts are true and helpful and which thoughts aren't. Not only is this staying connected to God so important for that reason, but it also just feels good. I know every time I tune in, I feel fantastic. I feel so alive, so good. And I know I want that good feeling more and more. And isn't that what we do as human beings? We go through our day trying to seek or find that good feeling. But what if that good feeling is being freely given to us all the time? And all we need to do is take it in. So please don't take my word for any of this. And Bruno Groening, who, from my perspective, was an absolute master, absolute spiritual master, in the truest sense of the word, he never asked people to believe a word he said. But what he did say, he challenged them in essence. He said, you have the duty to convince yourself of the truth. So, what is this truth that he spoke of? We can approach it from many angles. I think one of the most fundamental angles that he taught was that the supreme reality, which he called God, had a slightly different meaning for that word than most people, that the supreme reality is fundamentally and completely trustworthy. Said another way, that God is completely good. Said yet another way, that God never punishes, that nothing bad comes from God. He pointed out that bad things come from evil, and that God is the sender or giver of all things good and only good. This is so important because so many people believe that God punishes them when they do bad things. I know someone who, when their first, well, it's a little personal, so let me see, what can I share without giving away their identity? When they had lost two of their spouses to death, And they felt so, obviously, they were stricken, and they, why is this happening to me? And the conclusion that they came to was that God was punishing them for not having gone to church. So I don't want to criticize this person in particular. And actually, they probably will never watch this video. It's just someone I met a long time ago. But beliefs like that are very common. Many, many, many people, and I'm recovering from it myself, have very cruel ideas about God. So let's think about this. So this person lost one spouse to death, which is so painful. And then they lost their next spouse to death, excruciatingly painful. And their conclusion was that God had done this to punish them for not going to church. So what that would mean is God is demanding of people. God demands obedience, and if God doesn't get what God wants, then God kills people in order to, in essence, torture other people. God is in this view, God is sadistic and homicidal and really insane. What Bruno Groening said is that God is love. God is life and goodness. And God would never do, the supreme, all good, all loving reality would never do anything like that. That negative things happen to us as a natural consequence of our own negative actions. But the consequence is going to meet the crime, as it were. Someone not going to church doesn't warrant having two of their spouses killed. So the fundamental thing that Bruno Groening taught was that God is all good and completely trustworthy and available to help us with everything and anything. All we need to do is ask, and all we need to do is be willing to follow the good, to do the good, and to reconnect to the part of ourselves that knows what's good. And by good, I don't mean a list of rules like don't drink, don't smoke, eat this, don't eat that, go to church every once a week, go to church every day. Like, I'm not talking about a list of rules. I'm talking about behaving well, behaving in a harmonious way with ourselves, honoring these bodies, with other bodies and other people, and with life itself and this planet, this beautiful living being we live on, to honor life. So first of all, let's just temporarily release all our ideas about God. We can have them back, but let's just put them aside and ask, is it possible that God is all good and completely trustworthy and never punishes? These are very important questions. Because if God does punish, and if God isn't all good, then God can't be trusted. And yet Bruno Groening, and as did Christ, as did many other teachers throughout history, have said we need God in different ways. That we're literally built to live in connection with God and to be guided by God and in relationship with God. So we need to look at, I need to, and Bruno Groening invites us to look at our ideas that we've been taught. Because in essence, these vicious ideas about God, they've just been passed down to us. It's almost like they're rumors. My parents taught me what their parents taught them, what their parents taught them, and so forth and so on. It's kind of like these rumors. But if you go directly to the source, such as a pure soul like Bruno Groening, such as a pure soul such as Christ, And even in other traditions, a pure, I consider the Buddha to be a very pure, very awake soul. And there's of course many. I don't. There's not time to like cover every tradition here. But if you go to the actual source, it's written that Christ spoke of Father. He used an Aramaic word. It's probably the language that Christ spoke, and the Aramaic word is Abba, which has two meanings. One meaning is a term of respect towards a father, and the other meaning is daddy, the word of endearment that a child would feel for their father. So as I said, let's put aside all our ideas and ask, is it possible God is all good and only good? Let's find out. It's a very important question. Noticing what you feel, taking in this good energy. Once again, handing over all sense of burden and challenge and problem. As we observe our bodies, viewing every sensation as part of our healing. The thing is we tend to approach theology, which is meaning thinking about God or knowledge of God, through books. But what I'm starting to realize is that books are a good book is nothing more than a pointer, and a bad book is really a trap. Because we have to turn that knowledge into experience. It's not enough to just think, oh, God is all good. We have to know it in our heart, because that's the only way we're ever going to trust the divine, is if we really recognize in the depths of our being the truth about God. If it's just up here, that's as high as our, if we just keep it at this level, then that's the only, maybe not everyone's looking, but if we keep it only in the head, then we're only going to surrender and trust in our head. And by surrender, I just mean be guided by, to seek to live in alignment. I sometimes read from a book called Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the foundation of the 12-step program. In fact, I'm going to grab it because it's all about surrender to and trusting in God. So, the word surrender can sound scary, but it only sounds scary if we don't trust God. If we recognize that God is all good, all powerful, all good, and all wise, then surrender makes sense. So here's a little quote about this attitude of what it would mean like if we really trusted God and surrendered. This is from the book Alcoholics Anonymous, page 62. This is the how and why of it. First of all, we had to quit playing God. It didn't work. By playing God, mean trying to run the show, trying to organize life and be in charge of everything. Next, we decided that hereafter in the drama of life, God was going to be our director. He is the principal. We are his agents. He is the father. We are his children. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of the new and triumphant arch through which we passed to freedom. When we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. We had a new employer. Being all-powerful, he provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well. Established on such firm footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves and our little plans and designs. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, and hereafter. We were reborn. So cross-culture, cross-tradition, many mystics and teachers talk about surrender to God, and this is what they mean. They mean living a life guided by the supreme power, relying on the supreme power and trusting in it. It's a very simple concept. The application of it, not always so easy. It's something I personally strive to do moment by moment, and I fall short every day. Yet no one said the Earth School was easy. So I'd like to thank everyone who joined in live, everyone who's watching a recording of this, and Forever Loving Everything wrote, I love our gatherings beyond words. I feel deeply blessed to be in this community. Sorry, couldn't hold back. Well, I appreciate the apology and not needed. I'm going to make a post. I'll make a video soon about my views of what's helpful and not helpful during community hour, and that feels helpful. It's kind of on topic. And Bruno Groening would always ask people, "What are you feeling?" So thank you for sharing your experience. Um, so to anyone who's new, please ask questions after the meeting. You can post comments after the video. Um, I'm going to type in my website where you can find more information. And the long and short of it is I do these videos because I'm utterly convinced that what I'm sharing, which is just what Bruno Groening shared, and Bruno Groening said that's just what Jesus Christ shared, is the one solution for this planet. I'm not talking about becoming a follower of Bruno Groening, becoming a follower of Jesus Christ. I'm talking about living the spiritual principles they taught, and the spiritual principles they both taught were how to live well in this body on this earth. Neither Bruno Groening nor Jesus Christ came to found a religion, came to found a belief system about believing something so that when you die, being a member of a church or believing the right thing so that when you die, you go to heaven. They both taught us how to live now. And this, of course, is my passion for it is tripled given the current world situation. And interestingly enough, uh, to some extent in the Bible, you can see Jesus, there's prophecy about what would happen if people didn't step onto the good path, the righteous path. And Bruno Groening was very clear. He said, if people don't turn around, it's going to get messy. People don't change their fundamental way of life. He said, I call people to the great turnaround. He didn't call people to a specific religion. He called people back to being connected to and following God and back to living in harmony with nature and recognizing that we are dependent on nature and that nature is a sacred creation. So, forever loving everything, you thanked me. You're welcome, and thank you, and thank every person who comes here, because what I'm sharing, and when I do my job well, what I'm sharing is just what Bruno Groening shared. And my understanding is what Bruno Groening shared is just what Jesus Christ shared. So thank you to each person for coming and putting up with me and listening to me, because I believe, it's beyond belief, I'm utterly convinced that what I'm teaching is what our world needs now. And what our world needs now is not a new religious movement, not a new denomination. It needs people attuning to God, following God, and learning to live in harmony with nature. Everything else, from as far as I'm concerned, and if I understand Bruno Groening's teachings correctly, and everything else is details. And they're important details. But the fundamental to all of this is the recognition that God is all good. I struggle with it every day because I have challenges, much less the challenges that are showing up here in March 2020, to really recognize that even the challenges are a part of God's plan. Not something that God is sending to punish, but something that God is allowing to happen for my growth and for my learning. Bruno Groening didn't mince words. I don't know if he ever said it quite like this, but in essence, he said, we're at war. We're at war not with each other, not with, the religion we disagree with, or the country we don't like, or the other religion we don't like. We're at war with evil. And if you don't believe me, watch your thoughts for an hour. Just watch them and notice how many of them are destructive. Notice how many are constructive, are helpful and good, and how many are destructive, stressful, harmful even. So Bruno Groening pointed out, Evil seeks to destroy everything good. Almost exact quote. And so, and he also pointed out there's only one thing that can overcome evil, and that's God. In essence, us choosing God over evil. Now, it's very easy to consciously say, of course, I choose God. I reject evil and I choose God. But then to stand by that moment by moment, to thought by thought, all I can do is say that I'm utterly convinced that Bruno Groening succeeded in that. He became, I don't, stronger than God, stronger than evil. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I just said that. He said, I am stronger than evil. He overcame. We all do things like what I just did. We say crazy things every now, like crazy things just slip out of our mind, out of our mouths. Why? Because crazy things slip into our head and we say yes to them. I don't know where that came. I know where that came from. That came from evil. Some way, somehow. I'd let that in at some point. So there you have it. During a live broadcast, you got to see you got to hear what evil sounds like and how it operates. It's insane. It's a liar and it's insane. And until we're completely free of it, which I'm not completely free of it. I just proved that. And anyone who knows me well, I still struggle. Until we're completely free at it, it's seeking. It has some level of control over our lives. Case in point, I've never thought that. I've never thought, oh, Bruno Groening is stronger than God. I've never thought something like that. It just kind of came in and blah. It has some level of control over us. Bruno Groening said, if you take in one negative thought, you become a servant of evil. So until we're completely free of evil to some extent, hopefully on this path that's becoming less and less, we are all still servants of evil. And that's why the world is how it is, because every person on this planet, minus a few very select elevated beings, are to some extent, some more than others, some less than others, we're all servants of evil until we're completely free. Until every action and every thought is in alignment with God, we're all prisoners. And then Bruno said, when you take in a negative thought, it has to come out. Every thought has an impact. So personally, I'm recovering from like 47 years of negative thinking. The other way, other than having it come out, is Bruno said, is to regret it. And I believe that he also spoke of asking for grace and mercy. And it's my belief, I don't know that he ever said it like this, that tuning in is a receiving of grace. You never know what's going to happen on a live broadcast. I'm glad that happened. Glad we all got to look, got to see how evil operates. So let's close by taking in some more good energy. Observing the body, firmly determining, I only want the good. I'm done with evil. And then we have to stick by that decision. It's the decision we can make in one moment, but then we have to stick by it moment by moment, day by day. taking in the good. You know what happened right before I said that? I had a fearful thought. I keep having fearful thoughts that as I talk about the connection between Bruno and Jesus, that Christians are going to get angry and people are going to attack me. Right before I said that insane statement, I had a fearful thought, um, something like, Christians are going to freak out that I'm even comparing Bruno to Jesus. Or, Christians think Jesus is the only pure soul. If I say Bruno is pure, I'm going to get attacked. I had that fearful thought, and then blah. So I didn't catch that fearful thought, and there's the consequence. And that's how life is, and that's how evil operates. It's one of the fundamental rules of the game of life Bruno taught us. So I'm going to close us with a prayer. Dear God, dear Bruno, beloved Christ, please help us to be humble and recognize our need for God. Please help us to have faith that God is all good and only good, and that God is available to help us, can help us, and will help us. Please help us to turn to God, to align ourselves to God, to be led by God. Please help us to become aware of everything that blocks us from God. Every evil thought, every negative habit we've taken up. Please help us to become aware of it and be willing to let go of it. And please, we offer over to you all evil that we've knowingly or unknowingly said yes to. Please take it so we can better be of service. Please help us to correct and make right harm we've done in the past. And please help us to be mindful of our thoughts moment by moment and to discern which thoughts are good, which thoughts are not good. Please help us to seek connection with God moment by moment and ask for guidance. Ultimately, to be led by God. And please help us be oh so thorough on this spiritual path of uprooting everything not good. And then please help us to go out and serve others. In essence, that we may become free of all evil, so that we may help others become free. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome to Gerald, and thank you forever for your comment. Take care, friends. So much love.